Welcome back. Sorry we kept you waiting. We had a wonderful call from a Mr. Gant. Kathy, I'm a big fan of your segments on this show.
Well, thank you.
I watch them regularly, and I tell you what, really, it's so obvious that you work hard on these. I mean, I look at your notes right there, but you give a great deal of thought for what would be most helpful to share, don't you?
Well, a little backstory, I always plan out my marketing and all of that, and my segments are also planned out, so I know pretty much what I'm going to talk about between now and the end of the year. And so I try to go ahead and plan those out, and that way I've done my research.
Well, and nothing beats preparation. I know James Galliard will say, y'all don't realize for every minute I'm teaching, I've spent X number of minutes or hours getting ready for it, but you just do a great job. And so timely with winter maintenance.
Right, I know we usually don't think about winter until end of December, January, but now's the time to start thinking about getting out there and checking your home for winter maintenance. Let's do it now before it gets too late, and then we have issues. So let's start with the plumbing.
Okay.
Check close and drain those hose bibs. That's where we see a lot of our broken pipes under houses, is because those the water's not been drained out of those hose bibs. They freeze and then they crack the pipes.
Now those the outdoor spigots.
That's the outdoor
spigots. How do you do that?
A lot of times it's just a matter of draining and opening it up and letting not necessarily to let it flow out, but tighten them down. You can put there's winter caps that can go over them and seal them up. That, or even having somebody to come in, or if you feel comfortable crawling under your crawl space. I'm not going to do that. But having some type of insulation put over the pipes as well.
Oh, okay.
So
that's a big mess if they crack too. I mean, the expense of having somebody come and help you versus having to mend them afterwards is a big difference.
I had a couple of pieces of copper pipe. They weren't about this long. That I had a house that was vacant. And it was a listing, and somebody had left a water hose attached to the house on the side, and we didn't pick it up. We had the pipe to break in two pieces, and you would be surprised at, we're talking about a copper pipe was just split. And so those are, you don't think that those kinds of pipes can do that, but they do. So, start thinking about, because we're probably not going to be watering our lawns for much longer. So, when you're out there draining the lines for if you have irrigation systems and things like that, go ahead and start closing off those hose bibs. And, if you don't have those caps that go over them, make sure that you've got it to where that, the water is not backed up in those pipes. So, the other place to check on your plumbing is the pressure relief valve on your water heater. You don't want to get up one morning and not have hot water. So check there around that discharge valve and that kind of thing. Check for signs of leaks, or if there's been a discharge, and you'll see that if it's in a pan or that kind of thing. Now's the time to get ahead of those kinds of things, because you don't want to do it when you're in a situation where you're calling somebody in the middle of the night or the next day, during the weekend. So start working on those little maintenance issues ahead of time.
And people can identify those things themselves.
Yeah, they can take a look. If your water heater normally has a discharge pan, that valve is there, and you can see, is there water setting in the pan? If you're not comfortable checking these things, call a plumber. Make sure you have a licensed plumber to come over. It shouldn't take them very long to take care of those issues, and you know, to make sure that you're ready for the winter time. You know, like I said, nothing like taking a cold shower during the winter. You know, you don't really want to do that.
Preventive maintenance is a lot cheaper than repair jobs after the fact.
That's right. That's right. So think about it. The cost is a lot less than calling somebody out in the middle of the, you know,
Of the night or the weekend too.
Or the weekend,
yeah.
that's right. Electrical. Make sure that you have, and this, you know, we talk about this for hurricane season. Go ahead and just make sure that you've got fresh batteries in your flashlights in case there is a power outage. You know, out in some of our areas, if we get here ice or even heavy snow, we used to see that up in West Virginia, it could cause the power to go out. And so think about that. Do you have, if you don't have a backup generator, you know, making sure you have plenty of batteries in your flashlights, because you don't want to not have, you know, with the time changes, you know, we're getting dark.
Next Sunday, isn't that Saturday night?
Yes, next Saturday night. So our time changes. So we're going to have a lot more darkness. You know, nothing like Alaska has, where they have 14 hours of darkness during the winter. But we do have a longer dark period during our winter time, so you want to be prepared for those as well.
And you can't use the flashlight on your smartphones because you can't continue charging them.
That's right.
If there's
you
no
can't
electricity.
charge them. Yeah.
But don't ever use like a charcoal grill or something for heat.
Yeah. Not in a house. No.
You could die from carbon monoxide, as well as you could burn your house down.
Right.
So.
And there's you know, and you think about the power out, and they've bought those little electric heaters. That's not going to help either, because you don't have the electric. You know, so make preparations if the, you know, things go out. So think about that. And we're going to get to one of those things as well, is our heating and cooling, because if the power does go out, you're going to get cold because your HVAC is not going to work. If you have a fireplace, you know, if it's gas, you know, of course, make sure that the gas is connected, the pilot lights are lit, and that kind of thing. But have your fireplace checked and the flues checked, because especially if you're burning wood, because that's a great place for nesting. You know, if you've got a cap, you know, sometimes things can still get in the chimneys, but you want to make sure that your flues are inspected and cleaned, and any repairs that need to be made. You want to make sure that flue opens and closes correctly, because that's going to be, if it's open and you can't close it, you're going to have a lot of cold air coming through that flue when it's not shut.
And your heat escapes up the chimney instead of it can be used for your heating you.
Also, take time to have your heating system tuned up right now. You know, I heard Wayne talking earlier about clicking from air conditioning during the day to heat at night, and we've had some experience with that, and we had our heat to go out on us. There's one of the parts on our system, but we were able to get it taken care of now before it gets too cold at night, that we really do need that heat turned on. And so, you know, a couple of extra blankets and we're comfortable. But, you know, now's the time to just that routine maintenance, get them out there, you know, pay the $8,500, whatever that call-out fee may be, and get them out there to just go over this.
$8,500.
85 to 100.
Oh, I thought you said 8,500. I was going to say, no.
No, $85 to $100
for an hourly fee to just get it checked. And have your filters checked too. They change your filters, and they oil and whatnot.
That's right.
I've been told that if one gets on that twice a year, you know, for before the cold and before the heat, get it checked, it can really increase the longevity
it really
and
can.
efficiency.
And, you know, those air filters, we've talked about this before. You know, you see, and I saw a commercial just yesterday, they're talking about those heavy-duty HEPA filters and that kind of thing. Those, unfortunately, can really tax your system, because it's not letting the air flow through the filters as efficiently as they should. The little, you know, and the little cheap dollar filters, you know, those are the ones that are going to, and change them more often. Yes, you may be spending, you know, $45, $50 on one of those nicer filters. You think of how many filters you can pay $1 a piece for those, and change them each month, you know, and get on a habit of that, because that's going to be the thing that also helps maintain your heating system a lot longer.
And people think they're doing the right thing by getting these with all the whistles and bells, but I've heard the same thing you had. The basic ones,
That's
the
right.
inexpensive basic ones are the best ones for your system.
That's right. All right. So we've kind of talked about the inside. Let's talk about the exterior. Now's the time to start checking paint, siding, your masonry work for any deterioration. Going ahead and getting ahead of any rot, because you know if water intrudes, it's going to rot. So go ahead and get ahead of that. A coat of paint should last 4 to 5 years. So think about 2 coats of paint on something is going to make it last even longer. So going ahead and getting at least a coat of paint on things, repairing any of those damaged areas, and get a head start on some of that, because you know we experience more dampness during the winter, and you know even we have high humidity during the summer, but we do have a lot more between rain and that kind of thing. We have a lot more moisture, and that's when it could start coming in and intrude into your siding and you know brickwork and that kind of thing. Let's also talk about the roof as well, because you know you don't want to have to try to replace a roof during the winter time. So go ahead and look. Is your roof getting older? Do you have any areas, especially around as we call the piping that comes out of the house? There's usually, they call them
The flashing around
the flashing, the boots that go over the pipes that come up out of your bathroom, you know, those types of things. So any of that duct work and that kind of thing. Check your trim work around the edge of the house, because if water could go back up under the edge of
Under
your
the fascia
boards, that kind of thing. So start looking at those, taking those preventive maintenance time. It's time to do it now instead of getting later in the winter months.
Kathy, I had a friend who had an elderly parent, and somebody knocked on their door and said they saw something on their roof that didn't look right, and was in the process of convincing them that they needed to pay an exorbitant amount. The kids, my friends, went over and said, no, this is a scam. Folks, there are a lot of scams, and the DOJ, the Attorney General's Office Consumer Reports will tell you, don't let anybody do work on your house unless you contact them. If somebody knocks on your door, do not cut them loose, because they're often a bunch of scams.
That's right. They'll come through and say, you know, we see that this area is a high hail damage area for roofing, and they'll come through and convince people in a whole neighborhood to replace their roofs and charge their insurance companies. Well, your insurance rates may go up. You know, your roof probably did not need to be replaced. Always get 2 to 3 quotes, and to make sure that it actually does need replaced. You know, if
And they can scare people. I mean, they come up and they say, your roof's going to leak if I don't do this right away. No, get another estimate, or at least a reputable person whom you call.
That's right. That's right. Let's talk about trimming around the foundation. You know, we have our plantings around the outside of the house. Leave a foot of clearance between the planting and the house. You know, that allows for air to flow. You know, that also, you know, helps, you know, if you're trying to clean debris away, that kind of thing. You always want to leave a little bit of clearance to help that airflow through the crawl space.
Plus, it's safer for intruders, a place to hide. I mean, I've heard you don't want big bushes right up next to your house because somebody could be hiding there.
That's right. You want to be able to visually be able to see, or somebody drive by and visually see somebody standing at your windows. So think about that. Rake that debris from the side of the house and other structures. You want to make sure that you're not getting any, especially if you have like a wood or vinyl siding, you want to make sure that that ground clearance has, you have some space there. Termites are notorious for building behind debris, and if it's there, you're not going to see the termite tubes until it's too late. They'll do that, of course, in the crawl space, but they'll also do it on the exterior. And so think about that, you know, keeping that ground clearance down so that they're not going to make that space. You don't want them getting behind your siding and your whether it's vinyl or wood.
Hardy plank or something.
Right. So think about that. Also, you know, that debris also is dry, so it can easily catch fire. You know, we have a lot of places now that are replacing pine straw around houses because it's so quick to you know, especially apartment complexes, because that is so quick to catch fire because it is a dry material. So, you know, that's also something to think about, getting that that extra leaves and debris from around the house so that you're not having it sit there and have an issue. Cleaning the gutters and downspouts, you know, repair them as needed. That's and I would say if you don't have gutters or downspout, you know, a gutter system, think about it now, because you know we're of course not in the season when everybody's getting roofing, so you might be able to get a little break on having those put in. But now's a good time to go ahead and look at that, because as you walk around and clean out, you're going to see where the you have issues with water coming off the roof. You know, check the the ground. Do you have big divots in the ground where the water is continually to beat? So think about some of those. You know, the other thing is French drains. You know, that's can get a little more expensive. But go ahead and
It channels the water away from your foundation.
That's right. Make sure you check your siding as well. You know, if there's any, the kids were out playing baseball and the ball hit the vinyl siding, go ahead and get that replaced. You know, any of those kinds of things. You know, wood rot, or caulking around the windows, those kinds of things. Just going ahead and doing an overall look.
And the city will come and do free a walk through your house for energy efficiency.
Right.
And so for things like where you need to caulk and all, they will help you. They will come and I think you can even get a credit if you make some of the changes they recommend.
That's right. So, you know, always take a look at that. Insulating. You know, go ahead and check around those windows and doors, putting in extra insulation and getting that taken care of. You know, making sure that if you have storm windows, getting that debris between the storm windows and your regular windows. The last one is just cleaning out from under your deck and porches, as well as if you've do have decks, getting the leaves and things from between the boards, because water can build up on top of that.
Oh,
so
okay.
thinking about that.
And it can be slippery if you've got leaves on your deck. You can fall down too.
That's right. But that, you know, just give your house a good once over. Walk around the inside and outside, check for any leaks, get a head start on those winter maintenances. So.
Sounds good, and we're going to assume from that we're not going to have 80-degree weather anymore.
That's right.
Kathy, thank you.
Thank you.
And Fathom, why the name Fathom? Where did that come from?
I am not 100% sure on Fathom. That might be something I'll ask Josh Harley, our owner, and to find out where he got the name from. But our guiding principles lead back to Christian values, and that's one of those things. We always have that servant heart attitude. So.
Wonderful. Well, I have to say, I've known you a long time, and you're an amazing person.
Well,
we just are so happy to have you in our area and doing all the wonderful things you do, so thank you.
Well, thank you, Jean.
Sure. And thank you. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.